One sweltering summer afternoon in Dallas, someone left a battered cardboard box by the animal shelter's gate. Inside wasn't trash, but a fragile life with 3 hastily scrawled words on the side. Can't afford her. As Sarah made her rounds checking the kennels behind the shelter, she noticed the torn box sitting forlornly beside the fence. Scribbled in messy black marker across the side were 3 careless, heartbreaking words. Can't afford her. The stench of urine and something worse hit Sarah as she approached. Peering inside, she saw a tiny golden retriever puppy, no more than 8 weeks old, curled up and barely moving. The poor creature's fur was matted with dirt and what looked like dried blood. One of her back legs was bent at an unnatural angle, clearly broken. Her eyes were dull and unfocused, likely from severe dehydration. The puppy made no sound, no whimper, no bark. She simply lay there, silent and still, as if she had already given up. Sarah knelt down, her hands shaking with a mix of sadness and anger. Gently she reached into the box and lifted the frail puppy into her arms. The little one didn't even flinch at being touched. She only opened one cloudy eye to look up at Sarah, her gaze seeming to ask without words, "Will you abandon me too?" Cradling the puppy close, Sarah whispered soft words of comfort as she rushed inside. The shelter's medical team sprang into action immediately. They gave the pup fluids for dehydration, pain medication for her injuries, and carefully splinted her broken leg. As they worked to clean her fur and bring down her fever, Sarah stood by, her heart aching for this tiny, discarded life. "We'll call her Honey," Sarah said softly, stroking the puppy's newly cleaned golden fur. Sweet and golden, even when life is bitter. The first few days were touch and go. Honey barely moved, hardly responding when the staff tried to feed or comfort her. She lay quietly in her kennel, as if unsure she was allowed to keep living. The only sign of life came when her ears would twitch slightly at the sound of Sarah's voice. It wasn't much, but it was something to hold on to. On the 3rd night, as Sarah sat beside Honey's kennel, talking softly to her, something happened that brought tears to her eyes. Slowly, hesitantly, Honey lifted her tiny paw and placed it on Sarah's hand through the kennel bars. The touch was so light, so fragile, but it spoke volumes. It said, "Please don't leave me alone." From that moment on, Sarah was by Honey's side as much as possible. She brought in a cot and slept next to the kennel, hand-feeding Honey warm puppy formula and speaking words of encouragement through the long nights. By the end of the first week, Honey started showing real signs of improvement. Her appetite returned. Her tail gave a small wag when Sarah entered the room. And one morning, Sarah found her cuddling a small stuffed duck someone had left in her kennel. It wasn't just about surviving anymore. Something inside Honey was waking up. Her eyes grew brighter, her movements more purposeful. She was beginning to believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserved love after all. In the 3rd week came a breakthrough that had the whole shelter celebrating. Sarah was sitting across the room, reading aloud from a book, as she often did while keeping Honey company. Suddenly, movement caught her eye. Honey was standing up in her kennel. She was wobbly and favoring her healing leg, but she was on her feet. And then, slowly but surely, she took a few shaky steps toward Sarah. Sarah dropped her book and rushed over, tears streaming down her face. She opened the kennel door, and Honey stumbled into her arms, tail wagging furiously. That night, Sarah wrote in the shelter's log, "Honey isn't just healing physically, she's choosing to trust again, choosing to love." As the weeks passed, Honey grew stronger every day. Her leg healed, her fur became glossy and thick, and her personality blossomed. She loved to play and seemed to have an endless supply of puppy energy. The day finally came when the shelter's veterinarian declared her ready for adoption. A lovely family from Houston put in an application. They had a big backyard experience with dogs and 2 kids who were beyond excited at the prospect of a new furry friend. On paper, they seemed perfect. But something in Sarah's heart hesitated. Years ago, she had lost her beloved childhood dog to old age. The pain had been so intense that she'd sworn off ever having another pet. She'd thrown herself into shelter work instead, telling herself it was enough to help other animals find homes. And then Honey had come into her life. One evening, after a long day of adoption interviews, Sarah went to check on Honey one last time before heading home. What she saw stopped her in her tracks. Honey had dragged Sarah's jacket, which she'd accidentally left behind earlier, into her bed. The puppy was curled up tightly with it, her nose buried in the fabric where Sarah's scent lingered strongest. In that moment, Sarah knew what she had to do. Honey had already found her forever home. The next morning, Sarah marched into the shelter director's office and tore up the adoption application from the Houston family. Instead, she filled out a new form, this time with her own name in the adopter field. Later that day, Sarah went to the storage room where they'd kept the cardboard box Honey had been found in. She picked up a marker, crossed out the cruel words that had haunted her for weeks. Can't afford her, and wrote something new, cherished, protected. Forever. Honey thrived in her new home with Sarah. As she grew into a beautiful adult dog, her gentle spirit touched everyone she met. Sarah eventually trained her as a therapy dog, and every week they would visit the shelter together. Honey would quietly walk past the kennels, stopping to offer comfort to the newest, most frightened arrivals. She seemed to know exactly which animals needed her silent presence the most. Honey wasn't just rescued. She became a rescuer herself. From a discarded puppy in a dirty box, she transformed into a living symbol of resilience and hope. Her story was shared with every new shelter volunteer, a powerful reminder that second chances can work miracles and that no life is ever too broken to heal. Because sometimes all it takes is one person who refuses to give up, to turn abandonment into belonging, and a forgotten soul into a beacon of light for others.